What do flat earthers mean when they say that the earth has pillars? Now, so far in this Flat Earth series, we've covered all of these topics. Now, in this part, we're going to take a look at the Earth's pillars. Now, please make sure to go back and review, since in the first two parts, I talk about some very important principles of interpretation that will also be pertinent here. Now, two favorite verses often quoted by Flat Earthers to support the notion that the Earth has pillars are Job 9:6 and Psalm 75:3. Now in Job 9:6 we read, "Which shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble." And in Psalm 73:3, the psalmist says, "The earth and all the inhabitants thereof are dissolved. I bear up the pillars of it." Now, author and flat earther Caspian Sargensen, commenting on the phrase "the pillars of the earth," he says, "The earth was set on pillars. But tell me how we explain this away. God didn't mean pillars, or it was just an expression. That doesn't make sense. What makes far more sense is that God meant what he said." But why is Caspian so quick to discard a solution that appeals to figurative language, especially since all of the contested verses are found within poetic passages? Now, as we will see, the careful Bible student, he must appeal to the use of figurative language or else live in a world of interpretive absurdity. Let's take a look at Psalm 75:3 to bear this out. The psalmist says, "The earth and all the inhabitants thereof are dissolved. I bear up the pillars of it." Now, it's important to note that in this verse, as well as in 1 Samuel 2:8, where the phrase is used, the phrase "pillars of the earth" most likely refers to human leaders and not to the earth's foundations. And this is how Paul uses the word in Galatians 2:9. "And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that was given unto me, they gave to me and Barnabas the right hands of fellowship, that we should go unto the heathen, and they unto the circumcision." James, Cephas, and John were obviously not literal pillars. This word is even used today when we say things like, "Oh, such and such is a pillar of the community." Now, since the phrase elsewhere, for example in Job 9:6, is used to speak of the earth's foundations, let's just default to the flat earth view and assume it is referencing the earth's physical foundations here in Psalm 75:3 as well. Now, when interpreting Scripture, the very first thing that we have to do is determine the genre of the passage. Are we reading a historic account? Is it prophetic? Or is the passage poetry? This passage is obviously poetic, and since Hebrew poetry is saturated with metaphor, we need to be very careful how we interpret it. Metaphors are powerful ways to convey abstract ideas in very simple, concrete terms that everyone can understand. If this passage is talking about the stability of the physical earth, then the use of a concrete term like pillar is meant to convey the stability of a pillar and not its shape. That's what a metaphor does. Consider what God says to Jeremiah in Jeremiah 1:18. "For behold, I have made thee," that's Jeremiah, "this day a defenced city and an iron pillar, and brazen walls against the whole land, against the kings of Judah, against the princes thereof, against the priests thereof, and against the people of the land." If we take this in a very wooden, overly literal sense, then we must not only believe that Abraham is a city, but he is also a pillar and a set of bronze walls, all at the same time. And this is obviously absurd. God is here using three concrete objects to convey a single abstract quality. Notice that each of these physical objects, a city, a pillar, and a wall, has different shapes, One is flat, one is tall, one is flat, tall, long, and thick. It's not therefore the shape of these objects that is important. The power of the metaphor is found in their ability to convey an abstract quality, and that quality here is strength or sturdiness or durability. This is comforting to Jeremiah because he can easily apply the strength associated with these three objects to God's promise of protection. God is strong, and he can easily make Jeremiah as strong as a pillar. That's the point. And it's also the point in Psalm 75:3. The foundations of the earth are strong, just like pillars. The context of this psalm is also a dead giveaway as to its metaphorical intent. In verse 8 we read, "For in the hand of the Lord there is a cup, and the wine is red. It is a full mixture, and he poureth out of the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them." Taking this passage in an overly literal sense would mean that God has hands and that his judgment is in the form of a literal cup filled with literal red wine. Not only that, but the execution of this judgment only takes place when people literally drink from a literal cup down to its literal dregs. And this, of course, is absurd. Rather, this verse is pregnant with metaphorical meaning. Wine in both the Old and New Testaments is often emblematic of God's judgment, as is the color red, which is often associated with blood. The concrete physical example of a chalice filled to the brim with a vibrant red wine easily conveys the depth, the passion, and intoxicating essence found in the abstract reality of God's wrath. Okay, going back to Job 9:6, we once again are being asked to consider the strength of the earth's foundations, not its shape. Consider the previous verse where Job says, and speaking of God, "which removeth the mountains, and they know not, which overturneth them in his anger." Now keep that train of thought as we move to verse 6, "which shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble." The point is that God is so powerful, so strong, that in his direct providence over nature, he can easily cause sturdy mountains to explode and the solid earth to shake. Obviously, a reference to volcanoes and earthquakes. So to sum up, flat earthers who claim that the Bible teaches the earth has pillars are categorically mistaken and have failed to appreciate the nuance of biblical metaphor. Okay, so that's all from me, Ken Colson, here at Creation Unfolding. Look, if you thought this video was helpful, then pound that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video on your social media platform. As always, I ask for a few seconds of prayer. Just pray for a few seconds for Creation Unfolding right now. And of course, there's a link in the description if you'd like to give. Thank you and goodbye.